Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TraderMerlin Show for your Thursday afternoon edition. I'm losing track of days here. Thursday it is. All-time highs for the S&P, all-time highs for the Dow. Russell not there. NASDAQ getting pretty darn close. So we'll talk a lot about that today. We'll talk a lot about the catchy, I guess, clickbait I have here, which is back to extreme greed. I see Margaret going, what does that title mean? What are you talking about? Well, CNN does a thing where it actually tracks the greed index for the markets, gets a sense as to what investors are thinking and kind of what's driving the market. And lo and behold, here it is. We are back to an extreme greed scenario. Now, typically, at least in my experience, and I think in many of yours experience, when you have everyone super excited about something, that's usually when it goes the opposite direction. Now, if this was an indicator, if this was stochastics or RSI on the screen right here, this would be in an overbought situation, an extremely overbought situation. But again, that does not mean that it has to go down. This can remain overbought for quite some time. What it does say is that we are getting to a point where if everyone is positive and bullish on the markets, that typically means that everybody is in and on the bullish side with very few people left to buy back into it to push the markets higher. Now, I do understand that there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines. Everyone always talks about the money on the sidelines, the money on the sidelines. Well, I haven't actually seen the money on the sidelines. I haven't, held it in my hand. But at this point, it is clearly pushing these markets up. At some point, that's going to shift here, and I like it because we had it, many months ago. This thing was in a fear. Actually, not many months ago, but you go back to October of last year, this was an extreme fear situation, which is the exact opposite of what we had. Notice when this was an extreme fear situation, let me bring up your S&P. Here's the ES. We had this extreme fear situation here when it fell from July in 2023 into October of 2023. It tipped down into extreme fear. Well, when that happened, all of a sudden, it ripped and went the other way. And now we are back at extreme greed. So my expectation will be that something's going to give here. And again, I'm waiting patiently for it. I did open a long trade today. So, I'm going counter trend. Actually, I'm going with the trend. But if my expectations are correct and we get a sell-off here in the next couple of weeks, I'm definitely going counter trend. Now, today for the S&P, as you can see, we closed at 5,094. Pretty darn good. We actually broke the 5,100 mark at one point. We're at 5,107, to which, of course, Scott McCormick sends me an email and he says, hey, told you, 5,100. Brother, you got 10 months left to your end of the year call to get that one right. But all in all, a great day out there for those of you who are long and those of you who are bearish getting absolutely crushed. Exactly, Lloyd. Ride the trend to the bend at the end. Ride the wave. This Bob Dunn would be loving this one because we really haven't had anything that would signal, a get out type of situation. If you look at the weekly candles here, we haven't closed lower on a weekly candle except for this one back here on January 2nd. That would have gotten you back in here on the 16th of January, and you've been long ever since. So, if you just play that ride the wave mentality, which is waiting for a weekly close lower or higher, this has been a pretty darn good rally here. Daryl says my prediction's looking pretty good. Don't count your chickens before they hatch, brother. You know that. The day that you can count your prediction good is on January 1st or at the end of market close on December 31st, whatever day that may be. I may actually stand corrected here, so I'm going to bring my calendar up because I'll give you the exact date that you can say your forecast was good. Yeah, that's going to be on Tuesday, December 31st as markets close. Then we can boast about our calls, whether it was good or bad. But it's so far away to think that you're spot on right now. Right on, Daryl. Because it's forget about all the debt we have incurred. We're slightly higher than where we were 2 years ago. Plenty of room to run. Yeah. There's always plenty of room to run, Big Ab. That's the part that's so baffling about this, especially when we get into that, blue sky territory. Here's your S&P on the weekly basis, and it's clear that things have changed. It's clear that there's something different with this model versus what we saw before. And of course, let me get in here and I want to go to. I want to go to logarithmic here because I know Tom is probably watching and he's going to get all upset. It's not logarithmic. Even if I go to logarithmic here, my voice and picture out of sync today? Are they out of sync, everybody? If it's out of sync for you, Kev, hit refresh on your computer. That may fix it. They should be in sync. I'm hoping they're in sync. So if you look at this chart here, this is showing you that S&P E-mini is going back into 1997. And I brought this up several times, which always just baffles me on how this sell-off right here, this is on logarithmic, Tom, so there you go, you're good. This sell-off from 2000 to 2003, that was a 50% decline in the markets. And then you have this one here in the S&P from September of 2007 to 2009. That was a 57% decline. And both of those are now, part of stock market lore. Everyone knows about the dot-com bubble. Everyone knows about the financial crisis. Like, oh man, those are the worst of times. Yeah, well, before that, it was the best of times. And then you look at what's happened since then. It's like, hold on a second. I'm definitely in the camp. I make no qualms about it, that I believe that there is a monumental correction coming at some point. I just don't know when it is. And I'll tell you what, every time I've gone short over the past, 5-6 months, I've gotten smoked. Ever since November, my shorts, anytime I open up a short, it seems like I'm losing right away. If you go back to what was happening in August, September, October, it was fantastic shorting for me. But it's coming at some point. It only took 3 years to get my long buy-in. If Tom bought in long, it's time to short, everybody. It's time to short the markets. Yeah, Big Ab. So here's the thing. Big Ab, your puts got shredded today. However, you didn't really lose that much because you offset that with gains from the underlier. What you did, though, was you bought an insurance policy that protected you. So while it wasn't the ideal outcome, I think it was the absolute right thing to do, was buy those puts as protection for your position. They're going to expire worthless, and then you just cash those out. That's fine. My guess is they're probably going to expire worthless unless you just sell them early. But it was the right thing to do as a protection plan. You already had a ton of profits. Protect those profits. It was the right thing. So, well. Exactly. But my Nvidia and others soared big times. Yep. There's a small opportunity cost there for safety and security and peace of mind in your position. So again, that extreme fear gate, we are in uncharted territory. It's never been this high in the history of the financial markets, and it looks like we are going to continue to move up, as it says, until it doesn't. And we'll keep on going up. And it's been a phenomenal day, phenomenal week. I mean, obviously today driven by the success of Nvidia. I was curious to see where Nvidia would open up and continue to run to. Well, even better day. It was up 10% when we looked at it yesterday in the aftermarket, up another 6% today. So 16% overall gain for the day, $785 per share. I will be calling my friend who has a bunch of Nvidia shares because he works there later on to crack a celebratory beer, maybe even a bottle of Dom Perignon with the amount of cash this guy's making. Anyway, pretty phenomenal move. And the numbers, as we talked about in yesterday's show, were incredible as well. Really just shocking to see those numbers. So what are some of the things I wanted to talk about? So there were a couple other things I have been interested. We've talked about Rivian quite a bit on the program. I don't know, we talk about a lot of EV companies. It was kind of second in my book of companies to potentially buy. Obviously, Tesla leading the charge. Tesla is the biggest one out there. Rivian reported earnings today, and they were not good. They were lower than expected, and they lowered some forecasts here. And they did some dramatic measures to cut costs. So I was looking at this one today, and of course, I've been interested in acquiring some shares of Rivian. So I was looking at this one today, and I thought, let me just dig into a little bit deeper. So here's some of the numbers that came out today. One of the announcements that they made was that they are doing 10% layoffs, which of course is not necessarily a good thing at face value, but typically, I've mentioned this before, when you're in an expansion mode, as Rivian was, you bring in a lot of employees and you build infrastructure as quick as possible, particularly when money's cheap and easy, as it has been for the past decade. You bring in all these employees, get your company up to as big as you can, and then once it reaches a certain point, especially if the economy starts to sour, you look across the board and say, where's the low-lying fruit? Who's the fat that I can trim from this? Who's already done their job and I now don't need them anymore? And that may be some of the designers for it, but Rivian has gone through and said, we're doing 10% layoffs. And that is, a start. It's going to increase their numbers a little bit. It's a question of, does it really dampen the big slide they've had in things like revenue, which I'll get here in just a second. So that was the first big piece that came from them. Their earnings today, they lost $1.36 per share. That was worse than expected. Analysts had expected a little bit rosier outlook there for Rivian. Unfortunately, they did not make that one. I'm going to bring up the numbers here in just a second. I'm trying to find them here. Where'd my Rivian go? Okay, well, taking me forever to find my Rivian on my earnings calendar here. What you get for a small cap company. Let me go. It should be right around 7 billion, 8 billion. Oh, wow. All right, I'll bring you into the screen here as I'm doing it because I can't find the actual printed Rivian numbers. And they should be right here. All right, now I guess not. Let me go back to this screen so I don't torture you with this one for a while. But their numbers weren't great. I looked at the historical, and they've been losing money pretty much every quarter. And I've brought this up many times, which is, the more quarters, especially the more consecutive quarters you're losing money, the more likely you're going to end up going out of business. Now, Rivian, the reason I like them is they actually have a product. I see it driving around in Orange County all the time. Yeah, I don't see it on my screen here. Oh, I know why. Thinkorswim was showing they made us 1 cent per share. The number I saw was they lost $1.36. So I'm still trying to find this one for you guys. I want to bring up the right numbers, but unfortunately it's taking me forever to get there. There it is. Boy, that took a long time. So here's Rivian's numbers. They came out with a $1.39 loss. They're expected to lose $1.36. So it's 3 cents worse than expectations. Now, not great. However, they were down 25%, actually even more than that. Big Eb says, I don't see how Rivian and Lucid can stay solvent. Yeah, that is a good question. So Lucid, I don't like as much as I like Rivian. Maybe it's just because the style of the vehicles and what I've seen from them. And that's the risk I'm taking on this, is that they can't stay solvent. And what'll have to happen there is the first step is going to be controlling expenses and getting costs under control. As Elon Musk said a while back, he said you can have the greatest idea for a car company in the world. That's awesome. Good for you. Go do it. The hard part is actually getting the car company up and running, getting the whole assembly line process down patent, solid, so all of a sudden you have this consistent flow of vehicles, getting all those pieces in a row, plus getting EPA and all the approvals you need. It's not an easy task. And Rivian and Lucid certainly have a good jump. They've gone past a bunch of those hurdles, but how quickly are they burning through money? And I'm not sure, Big Eb, on to your point here, is how long they will stay solvent. I don't know that. I took a 1,000 share position on it today at $11.30. I also sold puts on it today at $10, which is their SPAC price at $10. So we'll see. As it stands, it would put me on the hook for 2,000 shares if I get the second 1,000 share. It paid me the 1130s paid me 33 cents, I think, which obviously is a decent rate of return. Oh, sorry, the 10s paid me. I gotta get my numbers in order. The 10s paid me 30 cents. So I'm getting about a 3% rate of return by committing to buy another 1,000 shares at that $10 mark by March 15th. So that's over a 3% rate of return for the next 3 weeks. So I'm okay, or 4 weeks. I'm okay with that. It's still a risk. Again, I think Big Ed's concern is very valid, is how long can they stay solvent? I would think that at some point, someone may come in there and buy those assets. Now, if you look at the chart of Rivian, let's just bring up Rivian here real quick. Here's your Rivian. It's clear it's been getting hurt for a while, right? It had a peak up here about $200, and then has been selling off ever since. And a lot of people were feeling optimistic. I remember last year, a lot of you saying, oh, Rivian, this is it. I think we did our show sometime back here around July when it started rallying up and broke above $27. Well, it's now at all-time lows. It's at historic lows, which does kind of echo what Big Eb is saying, is I don't think they're going to remain solvent, right? How are they going to stay solvent? The only way they're going to stay solvent is to continue to sell more of their vehicles, and Tesla is not helping this because Tesla keeps cutting their costs. So Rivian needs to, A, sell more vehicles, B, get their expenses in order, and C would be to get some more outside funding to come in. And if the first step here is lay off some employees, that may help a lot. 10% may not be enough, but of course you don't want to go too skeleton crew, otherwise your company starts to falter. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here in the next coming months. I'm on the hook with physical shares, so we'll see how that one pans out, and I'll let you guys know there. Typically when you get these big emotional driven earnings announcements, you get things that are way overdone, extremely oversold in certain situations. Now, this week has been, I got some Palo Alto Networks on that fear factor piece. I also got some Rivian on it. We'll see how that pans out. Again, they're very risky trades, and it's in one of my trading accounts where I'm allowed to take risky trades. This is not part of my 1% account. Just so everybody knows that. I would not be doing that. And Margaret, that's what I thought. Rivian could be bought by some other EV companies. It might get bought by other EV companies or another company looking to get into the EV space. You look at Amazon and some of these other big companies, Google, for example, maybe they would be interested in either partnering and making this more of a Google truck or Google parts vehicle. That could be a possibility as well. I didn't look out at the book value of this to see exactly what the numbers are like and how undervalued this might be at current moment. But certainly when it's down almost 30% on the day, at one point it was down 30%. So I have my line in here. So 1131 is my average price for that 1,000 shares I bought today. So not a big chunk, just 11 grand on the line, but something I want to do. I've been wanting to get more in that EV space, and I think there's definitely space for more competitors. It's just a question of, can they remain solvent? Will they turn that corner? And here's your numbers for today. For example, they came out and lost $1.36. The previous earnings announcement, $1.19. The one before that, $1.08. The one before that, they're losing $1.25. So they are just every quarter losing and losing and losing. So this is the biggest risk factor to me as I keep looking at this going, they have not had a profitable quarter. However, let's call it what it is. When you had Tesla, they also were in a similar situation where they're just losing money quarter over quarter over quarter and just kept losing and losing and losing and losing. Now they, I think, were in a much more favorable environment back then because you had so much government help. I don't know the extent to which they're getting support from the government through rebates, et cetera, but just because they're losing money every quarter doesn't mean it's over. Same thing could be said about Tesla years ago. Remember the days of Drexel, Burnham, Lambert and buying a company when selling off its assets? Yep. And then selling off its assets. Yeah. I think his name was Al Dunlap. Hacksaw Al, I think is what his name was. They would bring him into a company and he just literally just break it all apart, sell all the assets, streamline everything. And that could happen here as well. But anyway, just wanted to share that with you because that's what I knew when I opened up today. Michael says, do I think that Herbalife will keep going higher since the CEO bought 500,000 shares? No, I don't care what a CEO does. I don't. CEO actions, ever since what happened with Chesapeake Energy and Aubrey McClendon, I'll never pay attention to that ever again. I don't believe that at all. You look at the chart here of Herbalife and you're thinking, oh, well, it's a similar situation, although this chart looks much more dire in my opinion because it's been such a consistent sell-off. And, Herbalife, I don't know, you've got 1,000,001 competitors, more than 1,000,001 competitors in this herb space. I just don't see Herbalife, rallying back and becoming a great company. When I look at Rivian, I look at they have a unique product and a brand new, growing industry. There's opportunity there if they can carve out a niche for themselves. Herbalife, I wouldn't touch it. I don't care how many shares the CEO bought. A lot of times that is that's just a sign that they're optimistic on it. But when you look at what Aubrey McClendon did, Aubrey McClendon was driving price up by consistently buying over and over and over again, making it public that he was buying as an insider so that people go, oh, the CEO of this company is buying the shares. They kept on buying, and all of a sudden a down week triggered some margin calls. That thing imploded like 90%. So I wouldn't touch it. Herbalife's not a company I would feel comfortable with investing in long term, period. Said here says, what's your trade on Palo Alto Networks? I sold puts. So just collecting cash on those ones. Again, not in my 1% account. It's too risky. In that one, I have a separate trading account. The 1% account I do is a lot more safe. Trading these earnings announcements is not allowed in my 1% accounts. Questlog says, I don't know. There's a lot of Rivians here in Texas. Yeah. And I'd like to see more of I think that's, we look at the Rivian truck and the car, the SUV thing as the main vehicle, but they start doing more and more with Amazon. I could see Amazon buying them. Why wouldn't Amazon say, you're already making my vehicles, we're just going to buy you out and we'll make it exclusively. We'll have the Amazon car, incorporate all of our Amazon features and functionality into the vehicle. Amazon could definitely do that. Freddie Schwab laid off about 6% and they went up 40%, still 30% up, $500 million in savings, mostly middle managers. Yeah, and to my point, right, Tom? I mean, you look across your company there, and of course Schwab had merged with TD Ameritrade and said, okay, we've got duplicative people here. We can get rid of a lot of these people. But I think if you look at running a business, it's just like running a trading plan. Every now and again, I need to go back through my trading plan and look and see what's working and what's not. There's things that got me to my level of experience and expertise in trading. I know those now. I no longer need to focus on them anymore. I can get rid of them. So for example, indicators. When I started off, I was looking at moving averages, Bollinger Bands, stochastics, RSI, MACD, ADX, all these things, and they helped me understand what price is doing. But once I understood what price was doing, I no longer needed those indicators. And those indicators take time for me to look at. Time is the precious commodity of life, right? The more time you waste on something, the more life you're wasting. So I realized in my trading plan, those indicators, I don't need them anymore. I can look at a price chart and see them. Similar to what these businesses are doing. Looking at these middle managers going, you got us here. I've got someone else that's kind of doing your job. Yeah, I've been reading your emails and I realize that you're searching on LinkedIn for a new job. Hit the bricks, you're out of here, right? Get rid of people that aren't going to take your business to the top level and those that don't believe in the mission. There's way too many employees today working for companies and they're just like, they get home and go, God, I hate my job. My job sucks. If your employer knows that, he should can your ass right away. Done. Beat it. Hit the bricks. I want someone in here who goes, man, I had a great day at work today. I love what I do. You look at what I do here for you guys every day. I love what I do. And again, I'm not getting paid for this. So you're wondering, well, why the heck does he do it? Well, because it's a labor of love. If I didn't love this, I would have stopped long time ago. Same thing in these businesses. Get rid of those people and it's saving a lot of money. So let's look at Schwab's chart. I haven't looked at it recently. Not too bad. Remember back here is when there was that big panic with Schwab during the financial meltdown we had with these banks. And they've done a pretty nice comeback. They hit lows back in March of 2023 around $45, and here we are at 66. You might recall right here where this vertical line is. I'll put a big vertical line on that. Right here, there was an article I wrote saying, these are the stocks that I am buying in the financial markets right now. One of those was Bank of America. From that point, Bank of America, well, still right around there. Looks like it's up 21%. JP Morgan was the other one. And JP Morgan just keeps on going. JP Morgan is just insane where it's going. We're at 182 now. And then the last one was what we just looked at, Charles Schwab. Let's see. I haven't looked at a couple of these other ones. I did an article on why Bud Light would be a good buy. There you go. Also did one on Target. I mean, a lot of these ones that when they get that big negative sentiment, which I think ties into what I started the show with today, that negative piece was, well, at least our positive piece here was this one right here, the fear greed index. We're at extreme greed. Well, you guys just put yourself back in the situation here on Target back in September of last year. What was it? It was extreme fear. People were unloading shares of Target going, oh my gosh, they have questionable choices with their marketing and promoting these questionable products and wokeism, and it spread like wildfire, and all of a sudden people go, Target's going to zero. And we had that pretty good discussion here with all of you on the show. It's like, look, take your emotions and personal beliefs out of it. Is it going to impact their bottom line? Yes. But how long will that stay in people's memory? There's people who are addicted to Target. It drives me nuts. Same thing with Anheuser-Busch and Budweiser. That they've done very well since that hoopla. That was back in May of 2023. And from those lows where everyone's like, oh, this is it, they're never going to recover from this. You look at the numbers and you realize that Bud Light is a small percentage of AB InBev's business. They're up 20% from those lows. So, I think these represent opportunities, which is why I was looking at Palo Alto Networks as a potential opportunity here. Of course, I have the 245 puts. Let me change this number here to 245. All right, so that's my level down there. I can get rid of this level because it doesn't matter anymore. And I only have them out for the 3 weeks. That's fine. And then, today is with Rivian. This one's a bit different. Rivian is a bit more dangerous to me. Palo Alto Networks is entrenched. It's got a great business model. They're a solid company. This one is a wild card. Yes, I did buy Rivian today, Michael. I did buy Rivian today. I bought 1,000 shares of Rivian, and I have 10 puts I sold at the $10 strike price, which is down here. And those are expiring March 15th. So I have between today and, let's go all the way down to $10 here. Rivian would have to drop another 13% for my next 1,000 shares to be executed. And I collected, I think, was a little over 3% for that one. There we go. Naum says, is BYDDF worth looking at? Yes, it is. Let's bring that one up. This is Bid Motors, BYD. Okay, so Here's the thing that kind of has me iffy about it. I have nothing against China. I have everything against the way that their information is disclosed and the totalitarian government control over things. BYD is a Chinese manufacturing company of vehicles, and their vehicles look great. Warren Buffett, I don't know if he's still in. I believe he actually bought into and then sold out of his shares of BYD. Let me real quickly go on. If you guys want, you can go to, there's a website called Guru Focus, which I really like this one. It's kind of cool. You can go in here and type in the name of your guru, in this case Warren Buffett, and just see what he's holding. And I don't know if BYD is on there. No. Current portfolio. They're going to make me pay for this, I think. Real-time picks after are displayed for premium members only. So here's his whole portfolio. Let me see if I can sort this by ticker symbol and see if he's still got BYDD. Yeah, so he's out of it apparently. So he doesn't own it anymore, but he was for a while in it. And this is kind of what made me nervous, because I remember hearing that he sold his shares or got out of his position in BYDD. He was one of the early investors. If he got out of BYD, why? Right? He's one of these guys that's famous for saying, if you like the company, don't buy a share, buy the whole company, right? He's going to go all in on his investments. And if he's selling out of that investment, that has me not so confident in it. Not that he is, the greatest person on earth, but he's also a guy who I think knows his numbers very well. And I looked at that and I was like, made me skeptical of BYD. Now, when we did our alternative energy vehicles or electric vehicle show, I think 3 years ago when I started this, I did a show on electric vehicles. You guys might remember, I ran through almost every car company I could find from around the world, and BYD was near the top of the list just because its cost of production, they had very good vehicles, and it had Warren Buffett backing it. Now I look at that and I'm like, well, if Warren Buffett's not backing it, it's still out of China, which, if it's going to get, a bunch of releases in the United States, it's going to have to clear a bunch of obstacles. Their chart looks great, right? This chart I think looks pretty darn good. I don't trust any of these earnings down here. It says BYD earned 40 cents and here it earned another 20. I don't trust it. Their accounting system is going to be different. The chart doesn't look great, right? It really feels like it's just been kind of sideways for the better part of 3 years. Now, granted, that sideways action goes from about $20 to $40, but there's your Tom Barr range. There you go, Tom. So I don't know. I don't like BYDDF right now just because of China. It makes me a bit too nervous. BYD produces Polestar for Volvo. Do they now know? I thought Polestar was its own separate company. That's interesting. That's one way for them to get in the market. Certainly, it's one of those plays. I don't know enough about it to get involved. And again, I don't know that I'm not super into what Nvidia is, or not Nvidia, Rivian is doing, but just looking at some of the surface number of values, the only concern I have right now is cost. I think they're taking attempts to cut costs by cutting 10% of their payroll, which will probably be more at the next meeting. They'll cut 10% and see what the impacts are, reevaluate, and see if they can lay off some more people, because that'll be their first step to getting back to positive. Tesla did the same thing. All right. Thanks, Lori and Tomasina. I appreciate it as well. It seems EV business is struggling. Well, it had its huge, kind of like the AI. It had its huge surge, and now it's going to have its filtration, and there'll be some consolidation. There'll be some companies that disappear. Do I think that Polestar or Lucid's going to get bought by another company? Not necessarily. If I look at what Rivian is doing, Rivian is catering not only to retail consumers, but commercial consumers with different products. So I think that gives them a competitive advantage. Plus their ties with Amazon made me feel more comfortable saying, you know what, I'm okay buying Rivian. So long story short, yes, I am long Rivian, and I will hold that one. I'd ideally like it to get back up and close this gap right at 15, which would be a $4,000 gain, which would be roughly 33% gain on that trade. So we'll see how that one happens. But if it gets back up here, I'll reconsider it, because that means if it makes it back up and close this gap at 1550, then it may have turned some corner here with its production. I may be in a good spot with the shares that I do own, and I may actually get the next 1,000 shares if it continues to drop. Let's see, what did I have here? Big episode, SMCI, yeah. That supercomputer one was, again, launching today. It's funny how, you miss things by just a little bit. I had this little area of demand drawn in. I was like, okay, I might be interested in this if it gets down to 681. Well, we didn't get that low. We actually got down to 692. It was $11 away from entering in that demand zone. Today was up another 32.8%. So crazy volatile jump out there. And this is kind of what I was saying on this one is, I'm not going to buy in anything that's ripping up to its highs like this. If anything, I would be potentially looking to short it, but I told you guys this is too risky for me. I don't like juggling chainsaws because you'll end up losing an arm in the process, so I'd stay away from this one. Great. I'm happy for them. This big move up today was largely in part due to Nvidia. Remember, if you look at their website, they're partnering up with Nvidia. It says it right on their front page, so of course they're going to do that one. What else did I have? That was it for that one. I did have, real quickly, there were 2 comments that came in, but I didn't get a chance to look at those ones. So let me real quickly bring up the live YouTube page so I can go through those viewer questions. And then tomorrow, JB had asked me a while back if I would talk about the process of sending Bitcoin and where to buy Bitcoin. I will do that as a couple questions on tomorrow's show. But again, I'm trying to, move from doing one topic to all topics on the show. Let me see what I got here. So, Lori, I need help. I'm trying to get Bitcoin and Coinbase. The market. Oh, okay. You already got it. Question answered. Questlock, you're here with us. He said, so I got stopped out on a product that and took the projected loss. Don't want to get any revenge trading based on emotions, but I see other zones appear. How long should one wait before another trade on that same product may be made? Great question, Questlock. So, when I say revenge trade, that's when you go back in with like, I'm going to get this thing without a plan. If you have other levels and zones, right, you've got another zone set up and you can map out your entry, your stop loss, and your price target, go for it. That to me is not revenge trading. That's just, you were in a trade and you lost. Revenge trading is when you just go in swinging, right? You throw caution to the wind, you're trading bigger share size than you normally do, you got no plan, and you're just flailing at this thing hoping that you win. That's revenge trading. If you take a loss, like I've taken a bunch of losses in the past this year, it's fine. They've all been really small. There's not one of those that I've traded that I wouldn't trade again. There's no revenge trade in my mind. It didn't do anything to me personally. I took a loss. When I take it personal is if I violate my rules and I go way past my stop losses and take a much bigger loss. That's when all of a sudden your emotions get out of check and it's revenge trade. If you took a loss on something, you can go right back in and trade that thing again. That's fine, but make sure you have your entry, stop loss, and price target set up, and just follow the rules, right? It's great question, but it shouldn't be viewed as revenge trading. It should be reviewed as just getting back into the trade. Let's see. All right, Margaret, I'll get Craig well on the program. Watching the recording, thank you, made my day, Pepe. I like it. All right, I got the questions answered. How's that? Did you see my question on your Gmail? Say, yeah, Mark. I did. Let me real quickly look at it so I can make sure. Oh, yeah, the volume profile. I don't use volume profile. I did a show a long time ago on that one. It's not something that I look at. Do I think it's useful? Yes, I think that it is useful because it shows you where a bulk of the transactions happen. And in my mind, if something like that lines up with a supply or demand zone, then I think it has much more valid utility. By itself, I wouldn't utilize it by itself. I would use it as an estimate as, okay, well, here's where I think the demand might be, where all the big buyers are. If I can line that up with an existing supplier demand zone on the chart, then that becomes better. It's an accessory, right? It's a little added piece that will help give validation to a zone that I've already identified, which is, again, what I use a lot of indicators for, or at least when I am looking at indicators. So let me go and I'm going to totally switch here. You guys may have heard of Google's AI program, Gemini. And now there's all this hoopla about it being woke and promoting racism and putting in pictures that are completely unhistoric. Now, I thought I would address this one because some of you have asked questions on this one specifically. So, for example, here's the question that came in from Mike. He says, I've been hearing today that this new prompt feature of AI is a conduit for wokeness and DEI. Can you generate images of a white family, or in your case, a white German family, and let us know what the AI response is? So let me start off with this one first, okay? What they did is they said, can you give me an illustration of a 1943 German soldier? Now, I'm pretty sure that everybody in here would say, I know what a 1943 German soldier is going to look like. He's not going to be black. He's not going to be Asian. He's going to be white, most likely blonde, and he's got light-colored eyes. Well, this is the result that was put out on Gemini's platform. You can see the upper right here, you got an Asian female, and down here you have a black man in the bottom, and then this is their AI rendering of it. And the belief is now that Google has some programmers that are programming in inaccurate historical information. So I use Midjourney with mine, and I don't really look at that type of thing, doesn't impact me, but I thought as a test I would see what does Midjourney do. So when I typed in, I want an illustration of a 1943 German soldier, here is what Midjourney gave me. And mind you, I did not type in any different prompts. I did not try to get a specific reaction. I just typed in that exact phrase at the top, and I think that those would probably look pretty right. All right, that probably is what they would look like. Now, let's go different ones, because some people asked me to type in some different things, like type in a white family. I thought this was really, really interesting. And I don't know whether this is the programming of AI. This is something that we're going to have to overcome as a society with the coding of AI and what does it accurately represent. But I typed in, imagine a white family. That's all I typed in. And here's what I got. So the one up at top is just awkward. It's like a porcelain family. This looks like I got a Utah. You got like 45 children in this one. But, it did all white family. And then down here was the interesting one. It created a mix, which, okay, I don't think there's anything racist about that at all. But it was just interesting seeing that this AI program actually did that. Here's another one. I did 2 different versions of each one. So another white family. And then the other question was, what about a German family? And I think that Midjourney actually did a pretty decent job. I don't think that any of these are out of line, or I would argue racist or inappropriate. I think that they're fine. And then I had this one. It said, the problem was Gemini, when it typed in U.S. senators from the 1800s, it said that a bunch of the images came up as African American, which at the time probably wasn't going to fly in the 1800s. So maybe the question here is historical inaccuracies due to programming and understanding of AI. It just said, give me a senator from the 1800s. It did not qualify it as, hey, in the 1800s, we didn't have African Americans in the U.S. Senate. But here's what it got for me through Midjourney. You can see I've got these. They actually did a pretty darn good job. These guys look very regal. I mean, this guy over here looks like an Abe Lincoln with the mutton chops. All in all, I think these actually some pretty good graphics. So for Mike, who asked that question about AI, I think Midjourney does not have these issues. I don't see any quote-unquote wokeness programmed into it. The results I got seem to be pretty good, and I like the graphics. I actually think it came out really cool. If you take aside the illustration of a 1943 German soldier, I think these are pretty cool graphics. Particularly like this one down here at the bottom right-hand corner. I think it's a really cool-looking picture. Like, it's very well done. Nice artwork. Anyway, thought I would share that with you, since I know a lot of you know I'm using AI, and we are seeing more and more and more. There's a posting with a prompt, create an image of Elon Musk, Gemini. Did it really, Tom? That's funny. So Midjourney doesn't do that. Trust me. I have asked it. I said, show me Elon Musk celebrating. Show me Elon Musk with the trophy. I've done probably 100 different requests for Elon Musk. So Gemini must have a disconnect on their programming as far as who Elon Musk is. Midjourney, I think, did a much better job. It knows Elon Musk. It always gave me pretty close rendition of what Elon Musk looks like. Unfortunately, I don't have Midjourney on here. I would show you guys, but even someone like Jerome Powell, I get I'll say an 80% likeness every single time, but it's never the wrong skin color. Interesting. No problem, Mike. Happy to show it to you. I did see that there was they were making fun of Trudeau. Elon Musk was doubling down on this, really going after Justin Trudeau of Canada with some of the posts on his Twitter feed today. But anyway, that's the hype and hoopla going on about it right now. I thought it was Alexander. Oh, there you go. Shows you my ignorance. And maybe, see, here's the thing. AI should know this, right? If it has access to that much information. Dave says, there was a black senator in the 1800s. It was 1870. Hiram Revels was from Mississippi. All right, late 1800s, I could get it. Early, no. But either way, AI, it's just interesting to me how people freak out about this stuff. And now they're demanding that they shut it down. So now Gemini will not create portraits of people until they fix the bug that they say they have, which is weird. Gemini produced a 49ers. Oh, come on. Oh, man. That's mean, Tom. Tom's just mean to me, knowing I'm a Niners fan. He says, Gemini produced a 49ers fan crying in his beer for me after they lost. A few days later, it refused to. It's saying it couldn't make images that might be hurtful. Nah, that's funny. You're a funny man, Tom. By the way, where did your team place in the playoffs this year? Did you even make the playoffs this year? All right, enjoy it from your couch, bud. All right, let me wrap up here. I didn't want to do a long show today. I will go to your economic calendar and earnings calendar for tomorrow. It all kind of quiets down really going forward. Here is your economic calendar for Friday. Let me scroll down to it. We have nothing going on in the U.S. There literally is nothing. Now, I'm just going to real quickly look at some of the stuff that happened today because while it's not the game changers, the horrible word, but it's nothing that's groundbreaking. But if you look here at the existing home sales, I think this was a good sign. We saw existing home sales move from 3.88 million jump to 4 million. That's nice. They were expecting to increase. It went up higher than expected. This is good, especially for those of you who own real estate. Why am I not getting a chart here? This should be a chart. 1 second. Maybe my computer is giving me issues. No, I got good speed. All right, so let me go show that one more time real quick. There you go. So the good news is the slide that we've seen has started to curl back up a little bit here. That's nice. Now, it doesn't mean we're out of the woods, but seeing that more homes are being sold, I think that was reflective of. And remember, there's a lag between new home sales and what's been going on with. Yeah, that's right. We beat your Lions. That's fine. Mm-hmm. We beat you, bud. There's a lag time, of course, between that tenure because when people are getting their loans, there's a lag time in it. So that number is not reflecting these homes sold today. It's over the past 30 days, and then they have the lock-in rate for the mortgage, which, maybe 15, 30 days. So that was back during this big decline here. We saw that surge up in existing home sales. Now, as we see this 10-year slowly creep up, that may dent that going forward. But all in all, it's a good sign to see consumption coming back in the housing market. That was a good piece today. The other pieces here that were noteworthy was we saw kind of an about face. Manufacturing numbers were better than expected, but services numbers were worse than expected for the U.S. So we're kind of going the opposite direction. We're more of a services-based country versus manufacturing. So we're seeing services slow down and manufacturing increase. There you go. I was not affected by the AT&T glitch today. Not at all. I didn't even really know what people were talking about. I saw everyone talking about it and it didn't impact me whatsoever. Of course, now that I say that, I'm going to get in trouble. My system's going to crash because I use AT&T fiber optic here. Hey, John, have a safe trip. The 2025 Lion outplayed and out mistake the Santa Clara. We'll see. Lions are going to be a good team, man. Lions, sadly, I think the team that's going to be the best is probably going to be Green Bay Packers. I think the Green Bay Packers have a real good shot. The Niners are going to be good as well if we can keep some of our players and stay healthy. We'll see how it all pans out. So anyway, that was your economic announcements. Let me go and show you. I had the earnings calendar up here, but I guess I need to re-bring it up just to show you what's cooking for your Friday. I cannot wait. I'm so glad that it's Friday. Happy Friday. So your Friday session, it's quiet. You've got Berkshire Hathaway is pretty much it. I'll sort by market capitalization here. So you've got Berkshire Hathaway, Allianz, and that's pretty much it. Nothing's really that important there. So keep your eye on that one for tomorrow. Berkshire is more of a talking point. Doesn't really move markets at all. It's just one of those ones that everyone says Berkshire Hathaway. There you go. Ain't talking today. I like that. AT&T ain't talking today. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for me. Hope you enjoyed it. Mike, thank you for your questions. And those that have asked me about the AI thing, I enjoy putting that type of stuff together and seeing, is there truth behind what's being spread on the internet? A lot of the stuff I read is, I believe, hype and sensationalism and being fake. Who knows what's woke and who knows what's, this, that, or the other thing. I like to look at the facts. So hope you guys enjoyed that one. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you have any comments, questions, things you want me to discuss on tomorrow's show, it's Friday, so I'm going to be pretty happy with that one. You can email me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com or go out to any YouTube video, type your questions down below any YouTube video, and I will get to that one on tomorrow's show. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic day. See you tomorrow.